I'm having such an inspired morning. I am riding the rapids of the inspirational flow. It's amazing. And it's partly due to something called a marmor crab. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. It's a kind of crayfish. It's an asexual crayfish whose offspring are genetically identical to itself. So it kind of clones itself. Now, of course, due to this, there have been experiments on how to nature versus nurture look at things. And in Germany, in a lab, they took these marmor crabs and they split them into two groups. And they gave each group the same amount of light, the same amount of food, the same temperature of water. Everything that they could measure was noted, measured, and made exactly the same. And of course, their expectation was that the marmor crabs would both be exactly the same. Guess what happened? Mother Nature said, I don't think so. Some of them lived longer than their siblings. Some of them got massively bigger. Some of them had different mottles. Actually, all of them had different markings. Not one of them had the same markings. So they all had an individual identity that wasn't in the statistics. That's the thing about numbers. And there is a guy called Goodhart who said, now I'm just going to have to get this because I'm quoting, so, once a useful number becomes a measure of success, it ceases to be a useful number. This is an actual law now, Goodhart's law, and it reminds us that the human world can move once you start to measure it. It goes down to the quantum level, and I might be losing some of you here, but just bear with me. Wave particles, the particle splatter gun thing, when they're being watched, they move differently. When they're on their own, they're quite happily doing what we expect them to do. They shoot particles through a slit and it hits a board at the other side and it goes in a stream. However, when they're being observed, and how do they know they're being observed? That's my question that goes. When they're being observed, they become waves as well as streams. They move and change their mode of being. Maybe it's because they're rebellious and like children, they don't like to be told what to do. Maybe they're actually light beings, and shamanically we would suspect that that would be the truth. They are beings of light. That's taking it perhaps a little bit farther than some of you would like to have. However, these are my thoughts this morning. My thoughts this morning are all about data and how we try to box ourselves in, or those in authority over us try to box us into pigeonholes of data, their expectations and statistics. And it's been shown again and again and again that this is flawed, because basically the parameters and the random sampling that is used for statistics are chosen by someone with an agenda. You get statistics to make your results show what they are supposed to show because that's your theory you want to be proven. So you can actually modify that by choosing your random sample and leaving things out because it doesn't quite fit the parameters of your experiment. But then what they do is they produce these statistics as the finite answer to the issue at hand. So actually someone else from some other place is doing the same experiment and use different parameters can come back with a whole shed load of different statistics. It just depends on your perspective and your agenda and your actual belief. Seemingly, the United Nations sent out something on violence against women, and they wanted parameters from different countries. and Australian and New Zealand countries gave examples of hitting, biting, pushing, basically physical violence. However, Bangladeshi women and some other Indian continent women put down burning, having acid thrown on them, being dropped from high places, being made to sleep in pens with animals. Guess which ones didn't get into the statistics? Yeah. And similarly, there was a psychologist who had decided that they were going to do a paper on IQ across the board in children. Now, he managed to muddy his waters quite a bit, and he was a noted white supremacist, openly spouting about it everywhere. And when it came to children in South Africa, Uganda, and different places like that, he would test them in such a way that their IQ would show to be lower than it actually was. This is in an article on Firefox Pocket this morning by Hannah Fry in the New Yorker. And it's just, I'm just so excited about it because it's given me so many ideas. The potential for using this as a basis of a blog or as a thought process or fitting it into how people work. I've been speaking recently to someone about why people don't take up hypnotherapy, complementary therapies in order to relieve their stress and ease their mental health. We were talking about the stigma of the word, the phrase mental health. We're talking about the stigma about people not wanting to tell their friends or their family that they've gone for counselling. So I'm positing that perhaps we should change the language slightly. But this person has actually made a service available to his workers and their families, that they, particularly through these lockdowns, that they can go and have counselling, discussions with a counsellor that's already paid for, won't cost them a penny. After 5 months, they examined the results of how many people had taken up. And can you guess how many people had taken up this offer? 0. No one. Not a one. Now, we've been going on about lockdown and how particularly it's a stressor, how particularly we're losing, or some of us anyway, are losing our way. We're not sure what to do because our usual familiar routine has been broken. And the simplistic thing to say is get a new routine. However, for people who are so deeply ingrained in that, it's very difficult for them to move, and it becomes a psycho-physical reaction to change in such a way that it's not beneficial for them at all. So how can we get you who are needing the help to actually take the help? Many people say that they don't know that it's there. Yes, it is there. The NHS are totally overburdened at the moment when it comes to stress-related diseases and situations. Not just because of COVID. We've already run into the issue that in the 21st century, our stress levels have been growing since the 20th century. Along with industrialisation came a whole set of problems and issues that we weren't sure about, that we didn't know about, that we don't actively look at. However, we try to make statistics about it. And of course, as soon as we start to measure it, the goalpost moves. There are many things that we can do spiritually and psychologically and emotionally that will help to stabilise and balance us. But we have to remember that we're all individuals, that we're all unique. And it doesn't matter if your mammy turns around and says, "Oh, what do you want to go and do that for? That's just daft." Or people are going to think you're totally bonkers. Nobody's going to want to talk to you. You go and do that. Or you get the just give yourself a shake and get on with it. Really helpful. But remember, if there's one thing that you need to remember, what other people think of you and what you're doing is none of your business. That's their stuff. That's coming from fear and insecurity on their level. Just because they don't get what it is that you're looking at and understanding that you need, doesn't mean that you're wrong. Doesn't mean that you don't need to go there. We're here to help. We're here to help you navigate the rapids of chaos that are going on for you, if that's the case. If you're lost, if you're just not feeling right about things, if you can't talk to someone about something, look us up. There are thousands upon thousands of therapists out there, complementary, psychological, psychotherapists, physiotherapists, therapists everywhere that can still talk to you via Zoom or Skype or whichever intranet situation they're using. My husband has physiotherapy over the internet. He has appointments with a physiotherapist. This can be done. It is actually becoming a norm now. So if you need help, if you even think that you would like to just talk to someone and engage with someone who's not a member of your family or someone you would normally see down the pub, someone who's non-judgmental, someone who doesn't know the whole history and it doesn't really matter about the whole history. What matters is what's happening now. Yes, the history will have a lot to do with it. However, we don't have to take you back in there because we can deal with it from the last significant emotional event. Think about yourself. Think about how you're going to be going on with life and moving forward. Understand that the help is there. All you have to do is reach out. And that's the first step towards getting better. Nobody's got a cure for what's going on. There is no cure. There is healing. There is the ability to understand resources, to know your strengths, and tackle your weaknesses. And sometimes we see a weakness and we look at it and don't realise that it's a strength. We're just probably looking at it the wrong way. Start looking at it in a different way and it's amazing what you'll see. So trust your own instinct. And if that instinct is to wallow and sit and go in, trust yourself to say, that's not right. Not doing me any good. Even if you go ahead and you try something, or you may have tried already and you didn't like it, that doesn't mean to say that someone else doing something slightly different is not going to be the one for you. It's horses for courses. What one person feels and gets benefit from may not be for another. In fact, that's entirely why we have the plethora of modalities of complementary services that we have. It really doesn't matter how you come at it, as long as what you get from it is beneficial and is sustaining you and allowing you to progress in a calm, balanced and harmonious way. Reiki can be done at a distance. Shamanic healing can be done at a distance. But it's not that much of a distance because basically I'm talking to you now. This way, just you. And that's how it works. Even if you start by going onto a workshop and dipping your toe in that way and finding someone who's doing a Zoom call that's like a workshop webinar thing, you can go and see how you like them, how you feel about it. What you do to sustain yourself and keep your psychological and mental, emotional balance is the most important thing. A healthy mind is a healthy body. They go hand in hand. But don't forget the heart and the soul. Because those statistics need that data. You have to have all the data and then add the unknown variables. And that's from someone who's dyscalculate. So if I can get my head around that, wow. Look after yourself first. Take the opportunities, if they're given to you, to go and see someone or to connect with someone who can help you. Yes, you may have to pay. Occasionally your work will actually allow and make the service available for you. Talk to your bosses about that, about the issues that they might help with. Find out if there is a grant available that your work can do. If you're a boss and you would like to give this service to your people, find out if there are grants available from the government. I should think there probably will be. If not, give that idea into their heads and make it happen. Because the one thing that you can invest in that's going to give you back the proper dividends is yourself and your health. Physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Be well, be blessed, be loved, and I'll see you tomorrow.